Okay, I'm not too familiar with flying games. It's not something I regularly play. In fact, the only flying games I've spent any real amount of time with are the Ace Combats. But you know what? It doesn't take anything more than a little bit of common sense to see Ace Combat Assault Horizon for the absolute shitstorm that it is. When it released in 2011, this was a time where every game was trying to be like Call of Duty because they all wanted the mountain-sized bundles of money Call of Duty had raked in, probably because of skyrocketing development costs. And sadly, even Ace Combat wasn't safe from this because holy shit. Oh, like, I genuinely hate this game and wish it didn't exist. This is right up there with all of my other most hated games I've rallied against in the past. Assault Horizon, or ACA as I'm going to call it, not so proudly stands alongside them. There's only a few good things here which I'll get out of the way right now. First off, the story has an actual main character that you play as who appears in cutscenes, has his own name and personality, the works, which, okay, I like the idea. The whole silent, nameless, faceless character you always played as, who was only meant to act as a stand-in for yourself or something like that, was getting kinda stale, so I'm all for trying new things here and there. Second, the game looks pretty. That's a given. Sure, the art direction kinda sucks, it takes on the modern military brown and gray look, but overall, it's good enough, and the voice acting is okay for the writing the actors had to work with. Oh, and on the computer, which is what I played on, there's surprisingly no glitches or show-stopping bugs like there was in just about every computer port around this time. I'm sure some of you might remember around like the late 2000s, early 2010s, just about every fucking computer port out there was a pile of shit. They took like 30 minutes to get up and running, and I also read about some folks having their save files magically vanish, or the game files corrupting itself halfway through. Not here, thankfully. This port is very stable and well put together. I played it on Windows 10 64-bit, it ran just fine. I didn't have to do any technical fuckery to get it to work, I just clicked play, and boom, it fired right up. Damn shame that all that work was wasted on a game as bad as this. So yeah, we got an actual main character we play as, and the game looks pretty, but let's be real here, folks. Graphics can't save a game no matter how pretty they are, and the story is too boring for words because it takes place in the real world and not the Ace Combat world of Strange Real. And what we've got for an actual story is another cliché, super serious, dark gritty, Gerbark, America good, Russia bad, blah blah blah. I can't remember any of the details of the story or even any of the characters' names, and I just got done playing it at the time of me writing this. As far as the sound department goes, I got nothing to say about the sound effects. They're competent enough and they get the job done. As for the music, it sounds like the generic music you'd hear in a Call of Duty game. Starting to notice a pattern here? There's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing good about it either. It's just kind of there. I almost never noticed it when I was playing, and even when I did, it didn't really do much for me. I was just like, oh yeah, there's the music. And what makes this all the more puzzling is the guys who made the music for ACA made the music for most of the other Ace Combats, and they always did a damn good job, so again, what the hell happened? But regardless, we're just getting started here because now we get down to the gameplay. Oh joy. Strap yourself in, folks, because this is where things really take a fucking nosedive. Pun slightly intended. So I was digging through the old trailers and articles trying to find out what went wrong during development, and I found this little trailer called Destroy to Create, which I'll link you to. I highly recommend you watch it. And the star of this video is a man named Kazutoki Kono, if I said that correctly. He was the producer for ACA. Now the real kicker here is this guy's got quite the history with Ace Combat. He's worked on Ace Combats 2, 4, 5, and later 7. In fact, he was the art director for 4, the lead director for 5, and later the producer for 7. I found something very interesting that he said in the trailer. Basically, if you dissect Ace Combat, the game is fun, but until now, we've never really let that fun aspect of the game change or evolve. Okay, you know what? I agree to an extent, because Ace Combats 4 to 6 and even 7, they all do start to feel the same after a while. Even the best gameplay gets old eventually, and every now and then you need to try new things. Change it up a little bit. But that doesn't mean taking your winning formula and putting it through a fucking wood chipper, yet that's exactly what Kazutoki set out to do. Someone told me the ones who destroy it have to be the ones who created it. I realized that destroying Ace Combat to create something new, especially for the fans, that's our job. And after he said that, I was sitting there like,
what the fuck?
So yeah, everything you knew and loved about Ace Combat is gone. Every last bit, and it makes you fully aware of this before you even take control of your first plane. Right when you start the first level, the game immediately pauses and something pops up on the screen telling you to go into dogfight mode, or DFM for short. This is the worst fucking thing to ever happen to Ace Combat. Why? Well, when you get close enough to any enemy plane, you have the option to activate it, and when you do, look right here. See what's happening? Here's the kicker. I'm barely controlling my plane. It's magically following the enemy, and it does this every time you go into dogfight mode. The only thing I'm really doing here is accelerating, because if you don't, the enemy will get away, but every time you accelerate, you'll always catch up to them within seconds. It never fails. You don't have to do anything except hold the accelerator, sort of aim, and fire your machine gun while you wait for this green circle to turn red. Then fire a missile. Rinse and repeat until you destroy it. Now, enemies can use dogfight mode too, where they can practically glue themselves to you, but before you get your hopes up that there might be some semblance of difficulty here, when that happens, just slow down until these two icons line up and click the shoulder buttons. Then your plane does this weird flip and all of a sudden you're right behind the enemy with dogfight mode activated. The only part of this shitfest where you have to put in any effort is you still have to sort of control your plane, because the enemy can still break away from you even when you're right behind them. But when that happens, just find them, wait for this little icon to start flashing, click the shoulder buttons, and there you go, you're right back in dogfight mode again. That's it. Barely any skill involved, and almost all of the challenge is gone. That sound like fun yet? Well, making it even better is that pretty much all of the plane combat in Aka is based around dogfight mode, and yes, I said plane combat. I'll get to that one in a minute, but you can take out just about every enemy this way. In fact, there are some planes that can only be destroyed this way. So the plane combat, the dogfights, the very essence of what Ace Combat is about, got turned into a game of Simon Says, except you're hitting the buttons in damn near the same order every time. Oh, and before I forget, we also have something called Airstrike Mode. And what is that, you might ask? Well, it's dogfight mode except for targets on the ground. Yeah, because I really need to have the computer control my plane for me to destroy a bunch of targets that can barely move. Now add in scripted events, at least one for every level, with some enemies requiring you to go through a scripted event to destroy them, because until you do that, they're practically invincible. And just to make sure they really got the Call of Duty formula thrown into the mix, the developers were kind enough to give us a camera that constantly shakes no matter what you're doing, even if it's only a little, regenerating health so you don't have to worry about playing with any kind of strategy anymore, and the creme de la creme of crud, turret sections! No, really, turret sections. Yeah, this isn't a clip from Call of Duty or some other generic military game. What you're seeing is footage from Aka. Fucking turret sections in a game that's all about dogfighting with planes. In one level, you even get a turret section from an AC-130. You want to break the disc in half yet? Well, too bad, because we're still not done. For the first time in Ace Combat, we get to fly helicopters, which sounds cool on paper, but it's almost as bad as the planes. You've got the same in-your-face third-person dude-bro camera that shakes even more than when you're flying a plane, and follow it up with a chopper that takes about 3/4 of the fucking screen, doing its best to block your view as often as it can, and just a little nitpick, check out this lovely unfinished animation. Beautiful, isn't it? You also got a cockpit view that's even worse, taking up more of the screen than third person, and you just gotta stop and marvel at these magnificent aiming mechanics. See? You move the crosshair and then the camera will shift a split second later, totally throwing your focus off. Like, what went wrong? Why does the aiming inside the cockpit work differently than from third person? Why couldn't it just work the fucking same? I mean, this reminds me of the aiming in Lost Planet before it got patched. It was awful, and it's awful here too. Now, thankfully, there's another first-person view that doesn't take up any of the screen, and shocker shocker, the aiming works correctly. So again, what the fuck, Namco? The aiming works fine here too. What happened to the cockpit view? I mean, it's not perfect. The camera still loves to go shaky and zoom in every now and then when you destroy a target like here, but holy shit, something in this game actually works right. So let's see what we have so far. The core mechanics are ruined, so how are the actual levels? Are they any good? Well, it's probably not going to surprise you when I say this, but no, they're not. When I said Ace Combat was trying to be like Call of Duty, I meant it, because they went the whole 9 yards and then some. Every level in this game is nothing more than go a short distance, destroy a few enemies, rinse and repeat with plenty of cutscenes and scripted events to take control away from you as much as possible. You know, I gotta hand it to Kazutoki. I didn't think it was possible, and I wish it wasn't, but he somehow took the wide open skies and turned it into a straight line. It's genius when you think about it. He took the sky, the freest, most open thing around, and turned it into this. Like I said, absolutely genius. Too bad it had to be the twisted, fucked up type of genius. So let's see here. With the single player and core gameplay being this atrocious, you must be wondering how the multiplayer is, and I am too. Yeah, I was so desperate to find something to salvage out of this dumpster fire that me, a guy who never plays multiplayer, tried the multiplayer. But I can't tell you how it is because nobody's playing, it's a fucking ghost town here. Even when I tried downloading the leaderboard data, the game crashed. So in conclusion, is Akka worth playing? No, it's not. It should be avoided like the plague unless you really want to torture yourself. And if that's the case, well, I can't stop you. But the only thing I ask is that you go play one of these first. It doesn't matter which one, they're all great. Then if you still feel like it, go play Akka. Just make sure to keep track of your playing time if you get it on Steam so you can get a refund because it's not worth keeping. And yeah, Akka fucking sucks. I think it's a crime to even put the Ace Combat name on this, because it has nothing in common with that fantastic series. It should have been named something along the lines of Call of Aces Modern Horizon or some shit like that. Yeah, that's a much more fitting name. This game should have never been made, and it did nothing to help the franchise. It almost murdered it. And before anyone says, oh Contra, what about Ace Combat 7? Well, it might surprise you to learn that it wasn't the failure of Akka that got Namco to make Ace Combat 7, it was Infinity. As mediocre as that game was, it was a surprise hit. And that's what brought Namco back to the drawing board to make a proper Ace Combat again after almost 12 fucking years. And that's all I got for you today. See you next time. Alright kids, thanks for watching. If you're already subbed to the channel or are about to, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified when I post a video, hit the like button, and give me some feedback. I don't care if it's good or bad.